almost fully set here. My apologies for the delay. What a crazy day. For real. Just getting everything pulled up. But I see everyone already in the chat. Abe, Freshmaker, what's up? Calvin, good to see you. Max, Brayton, hello everybody. Yep, just getting set here. I want to show you guys the behind the scenes. Oh, I don't know why that won't load, but I was trying. There we go. Although I don't know why this is spazzing out like this. So you guys getting the behind the scenes setup right now. Tetron sign is bugging. Let's get it to like one color. That's nicer. Less bugging, more straight chilling. That's how you gotta be. But I hope everyone's doing all right out there. So just getting set up here. I swear work always gets busy for me, like right before GameStop earnings. Like it's always crazy somehow, right on the brink of earnings. Oh, I gotta get one more thing so my lighting isn't crappy. Just bear with me one moment, guys. Trying to, stay on track, gotta be on time and all that, but just working through some growing pains here before we're chilling. All right, give me one moment. Just hit my head like a clown. All right, so we gotta have, this is probably always the best way to go about it. Boom. Really trying to, work on the optimal setup or just details, I feel like I've been always like, like whatever, details, but details matter, so. Oof, look at that. Boom. But all right, let me get set up here. So obviously the question on everybody's mind is, are we going to see a profit? So while I'd like to think so, I do think it's good to be like cautiously optimistic. Someone actually put that in my comments and I was like, damn, I really like that. And looking at today's price action, it's a little bit encouraging, looking at a little bit of a turnaround after a little bit of a downfall. But all in all, it all comes down to the long term. And then I put out a thread today, which I'm going to go through a little bit. Just some of the things people said, some additional thoughts, because I always wanted to put more. Like as I've been writing, I'm like, oh, I have to add more, because I've been kind of working on it on and off through the past week. And today, like I woke up early this morning, like I got to get this out before I leave the house for work. I'm getting this out. And low key, I was late a few minutes, so got to be a little faster next time. But it's all good. So, all right, let's hit the chat. What do we got here? So everyone's just saying, well, it's good. I hope it's slumber party type hype stream. Yearning for earnings. Yeah, exactly, Abe. Like I'm tired from work all day, whatever, but I'm off tomorrow, so it's about to be a good night. Everyone's saying hello. I heard MOAS started today. Max, rumor is MOAS is tomorrow. That's just what they say. Brayton, if it does, I'll enjoy buying more of it. Exactly. Anyone thinks GME share price will rise tomorrow? I think it's possible. I think whatever happens in terms of the report, the reaction will be dramatic. And overall, like no matter what, one shape or form, there's going to be volatility. It's just undeniable. So everyone's saying right on. Let's go. Big day tomorrow. Just need that net zero or close to net zero. Agreed, Abe. Agreed. I think improvement year over year is number one. And then overall, you got to make sure, you're moving in the right direction and profitable consistently in the long term. But I understand if this quarter isn't. But somebody actually replied to my thread today. It brought up a lot of good points, and they were like, oh, well, this game came out, and also keep in mind when the Mario game came out, that was just good for the Mario franchise as a whole, and Nintendo, and, possibly just making people think, okay, well, maybe I'll buy this for my kids, or, oh, yeah, like, maybe I'll buy this or that, right? That kind of correlates with GameStop. But damn, I definitely got to get a fan on down here, too. I am sweating. This is mad hot by me today. But I was saying before, too, I swear, not GameStop, just pop something up there, but I swear work somehow always gets the busiest like right before earnings. But that's why, again, I took off for tomorrow, so let's get everything pulled up here. And this Creator League thing, I just want to briefly touch on it, and mostly I kept it open for myself in the future. So I was watching a Mr. Beast video, and he talked about it, and I was looking at it a little bit, and I'm like, this looks almost like digital collectibles, right? And what an NFT is, but it's just being presented in a different way. Like you don't see NFT on here, you see my NT. So that's like the website name. But to me, it looks like an NFT without actually being an NFT. And just got me thinking further about the idea that digital assets and the functionality that is NFTs is still here to stay. I personally think so. But I think it's just going to be presented in a different way. It's going to have a different name because the name NFT is just stained forever. So whether you call it an NFT or not, it doesn't change the fact it's like based on the blockchain and an individual gets to own the asset. Like that's the main thing. And that's kind of something interesting that looks like it's going on here. I don't know if anyone has any additional information, but I just thought it was kind of cool seeing a big name like Mr. Beast on it. Of all these people, I only know I Show Speed. That guy's just goofy, and his recent incident, I'm not even going to talk about that, but that's just crazy, Which is I don't even know how does that even happen? I don't even try and explain it to me, but like for real, how does that happen? That's crazy. But it's just, like checking it out just to see. But it seems interesting. You get into their community, you get in touch with the creator. So is that something we see more of in the future? Not necessarily with GameStop, but just across the board with digital assets. And I think as we see more things kind of like this, then we kind of see more real world adoption without the world even knowing they're adopting NFTs, so to speak. So but yeah, I'm going to agree with what Abe said in the chat about GameStop earnings. It's all about getting close to net zero, if not over net zero, as in positive with earnings at this point. And there was a counter argument on my analysis of our preview of earnings, whatever you want to call it, the thread I wrote today, where someone was like, yeah, well, let's be real. They need an acquisition or to pivot in a major way in order to be able to push forwards. But I was like, yes, I think, those things are on the table. And it's not wrong to want them to evolve in a certain type of way or take a further step forwards, which, by the way, they just launched a 2 terabyte hard drive that's for the PS5, but it's also PC compatible. So if they get into more, computer parts and things of that nature, that I think would be really exciting because they can use the brand name. But having said all that, if they're focused on higher margin items with their core business and only operating stores and online in a way that's profitable, they can return value to shareholders by eventually doing share buybacks, potentially dividends, or you stack up more cash and then you can make some kind of partnership or make some kind of acquisition or just take the next step. And, really, this is the time to deliver. I've been saying for a while now, or I just love this quote, so I always say it, but great moments are born from great opportunity. And it really is true in GameStop's case. It had a great opportunity with everything that happened in January 2021. A poor management team wouldn't have got the company into the position it is now, in my opinion, because you can look at AMC. Look at went to $72, and they weren't able to raise capital effectively to turn the business around. Instead, they're doing a reverse stock split, a conversion, and basically just repeatedly milking their shareholders till the very end. And you have Ryan Cohen on the other hand, and everything he's done, it's been extremely quiet. He's not saying we need to do this, we need to do that in terms of the business. And then also he's not saying like, oh, I appreciate all the investors out there, they're going to eat crow. Like he's just like, all right, let's just watch the company, like judge me on my work type of vibe, which I just think is such a difference maker. And with everything that happened in January 2021, that opportunity arose. And with somebody like him in the driver's seat, he was able to steer the car in the right direction. But, he's got to keep steering in terms of the turnaround. And then I also was saying in the previously how Larry Chang on a CNBC documentary, by the way, don't watch it, trash, about making of a meme king, basically just painting this picture that Ryan Cohen screwed people over with Bed Bath & Beyond, baloney. But in doing that, like they had Larry Chang on at certain points, and he was saying how people think turning around a company is like turning around a car, but it's more like turning around a ship. You got to make sure all the wind's in the sails and everything's shifting. So, I think that big gust of wind was the start to the sales shifting in January 2021, and they were able to raise capital and restructure in a lot of ways and start the next chapter into Web3. But, really now is the time of controversy, so to speak, where Couple years in, they're on the brink of profitability. Web3, nothing's really big happened yet. Doesn't mean something isn't going to happen, but really right here to me is where Ryan Cohen proves himself and proves all the doubters wrong, in my opinion. And then also, I think that's partly why he became CEO right now. In everything happening with the Bed Bath noise, and also just the idea that if he's on the ground level, I think he can just operate the company in a different way. And maybe he had to be just chairman for a little bit of time before you could realize that. Whereas he thought previously, in his interview with Toast, he had mentioned, hey, I didn't want to become CEO again because when I was CEO at Chewy, that's your job day in and day out. Every single moment, every single thing falls on you. I didn't want that with GameStop, but I still wanted to have a position where I could influence what's happening and drive the company forwards. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing. But having him said that and then becoming the CEO tells me either he needed to he felt like he had to be there himself, or he had something to prove. Like, I feel like that's kind of the reason you say that and then decide to become CEO anyway. Because Toast's question to him, if you go back and watch the interview, was, hey, when you became a majority shareholder and then everything happened after January 2021, there was a lot of speculation of whether you were also going to become the CEO. Why did you not? And then that was his answer. But we need Mr. Beast to talk about GME. Abe, that would be crazy, to be honest with you. But I feel like it's one of those things where something like that, I don't know, it just gets too crazy again. Because to me, I feel like the idea of MOAS, right? Because I use that term very loosely now because I feel like it's everybody's own definition. Everybody's an individual, right? But to me, it's still a thing, if that makes sense. And to me, how I personally view it is just an elongated period of time where the company just consistently drives forwards, consistently buys back stock, raises dividends, and they're just thriving and returning capital to shareholders in ways more than dividends, but also, potentially an acquisition, potentially a new arm of the business in the future, because everything's only getting more digital and they've built a little bit of presence in that. And people say, oh, well, GameStop hasn't digitalized, video game disc sales are dying. Like, obviously, but I think there's always going to be discs because it's just a classic thing. And I prefer a disc. And I think, disc consoles are always going to be a thing as long as gamers push for it. So, not going away completely, but I'm not saying that's like, oh yeah, the big thing for GameStop at all. What I'm saying is they didn't even have a digital presence really prior to Ryan Cohen and other people coming in and the new management team and just coming in post Ryan Cohen and the company culture shift. There really was such a limited, bad online experience for GameStop where they're building up the digital experience, and you have a lot of individuals like myself that like GameStop and talk about it, that allows the possibility to take future steps in the further online, and you could just keep trying to vertically integrate the business. I mean, all of that I'm saying is very loose, but everything really does come down to results and what actually happens. But that's why I think doing the 2 terabyte drive, like, that was a pretty exciting thing. And it's like, will we see more of that? Maybe. But whoop. Get a quick sip of coffee, and then you got NBA coming out. I would love to play NHL, but I don't even have a PS5 right now. I mean, I would kind of. That's actually is that actually how it looks? No, I was gonna say that was way too real for a moment there. That was crazy. And then Starfield. This game looks amazing. When I build a PC, I think this is a game I'm gonna buy. It looks so fun. I saw somebody built the Millennium Falcon, which is just sick because I actually rewatched Star Wars last night, Episode 6. Return of the Jedi, just a classic. I mean, it's just absolutely epic. I was watching my girlfriend because she hasn't seen it, so I was like, damn, why not? Can never go wrong with Star Wars. But kind of made me think of that. I was like seeing everything about Starfield online. Also, Spider-Man looks really good. All right, I'm gonna try and also, no guarantees, but I'm gonna work with my brother tonight. I'm gonna try and cook up a little earnings hype video for tomorrow. Nothing too crazy, but probably something just a little goofy like last time. But let's see. So, Tetron, are you excited for earnings tomorrow? Absolutely, Scott. Thanks for being here. And by the way, man, I know you were saying last time about this, and I was like, what are you talking about? Or like, oh, I can't look it up right now. But I figured it out, how they dropped the SSD card. And then it had launched on September 1st, because when you had mentioned it to me, and a couple other people started mentioning in the chat later too, where this originally said like available September 1st. So this was very, very recently launched. And I also wrote about it on Twitter very briefly. And I like that they have this nice little tutorial video. I don't think it's anything major. A lot of people say, oh, well, that's nothing new, or like, look at Amazon. But it's the small things, it's the small things that they weren't doing before. And I think it's simple, but really something people appreciate type of deal. So, damn, let's see. Tons of new GameStop branded products. Oh, what else is there, Scott? Definitely let me know. I'm going to pull it up right now if there is more. But let's see. Maybe Matt Furlong was only meant for a short time from the start, so that he does the big remodeling work that takes a lot of time and effort, and Ryan Cohen can take care of the details afterwards. Definitely possible, Freshmaker. Absolutely possible, because we don't know that what happened within, and also it seemed like there was some kind of indication that maybe it was a mutual agreement. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the fine print. I remember at the time there was some conversation about it, but I think it's certainly possible. But I also would think, well, then why would have Ryan Cohen given that answer with Toast? But at the same time, he's just doing an interview, and his mindset at one time may not be it for another. But maybe it was always on his mind that at a certain point, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to take this thing to the next level. Or after a while, he was like, okay, a lot of what I didn't maybe want to deal with the beginning steps is done, because I'd done the very beginning steps with Chewy, although it's a different beginning step, so to speak, in terms of turnaround, and obviously still involved. But I think it's not a terrible thought that, maybe this was something that was on his mind for a long period of time. And then also, it is a cost cutting measure. So their cost cutting is tremendous. And I was watching a little bit of Morantz. He put out a pretty good video about it. You guys should obviously watch him. Shout out Morantz. And I mean, it makes sense, everything he's saying about the continuous cost cutting. I mean, I listened to it in the car in the morning. I have to watch it back for more details. And I just caught some of it. But he was saying, how there's still a mutable, the mutable contract that's partly in the liabilities. And also, in me reading the fine print of the report, I was seeing, and he also mentions this, how there's still cost cutting taking place. And for example, winding down all the Ireland stores, you have to, pay off the remaining part of the lease. You might have to pay a severance package. There's all kinds of one-time costs associated. So even though you're cutting costs theoretically for closing down these operations, there might be still some costs associated with the final wind down that are just one-time costs, where if you look at Q1 2024 versus Q1 2023, and then maybe next year Q2 2024 versus Q2 2023, you might be like, wow, SG&A is actually even lower than I could have imagined. Potentially, right? Potentially. And that's where it gets exciting. Once SG&A continues to drop and margins continue to rise, that's really where I think they have to drive forwards and just continuously add to the products. And if this is the route they're going, more so with, hard drives and just GameStop branded high margin items, and also, Platinum Sparkles tweeted this, and it was facts. I was literally like, yeah, why don't they do this? More GameStop merch. It's time for more GameStop merch. I mean, I love my GameStop merch. I know I would get more if they had like a sign like this that said GameStop. Like, I'd probably cop it. So, should a new CEO be hired in the near future? Then my theory is wrong. Fair point, Freshmaker. Yeah. I feel like probably not right now, because they're really just operating extremely nimbly and efficiently. And maybe Ryan Cohen takes a slight step back. I don't think he ever fully steps back as long as he's chairman, but maybe he slightly steps back in promoting somebody within the CEO, because he'll be able to watch somebody come up. Because having worked at two different spots now in my life, where I'd say I've worked odd jobs here and there. I delivered pizzas for a little bit at some point in time when I was also working at Marshall's, but I worked at Marshall's, for 3.5 years. I've been in my job in an office now for almost 2 years. So it's completely different environments. But I can tell you, the culture within and the mentality of people really just goes a long way. And a lot of times, in both scenarios, I mean, obviously it's just for my individual companies I work for. In these two scenarios, like whether it's the office or the retail store, it's not that every single situation is the same, but I feel like it's fairly common to want to promote talent from within. And if you're like Ryan Cohen and you're chairman of the board, you might want to eventually find the next CEO from within, and you can see them really push for it, really actually execute and earn it, if that makes sense, instead of hiring from without. Whereas, everything that happened with furlong, I'm not saying it was the wrong move necessarily, but I'm saying maybe they're in a spot now where eventually the next CEO, that's kind of the thought process. But, this, if there's more, definitely let me know. If there's more GameStop branded merch. And then there should also be like, is there a GameStop branded section? Like, let's see. And, also, if enough of these ideas are collected, I always thought, Tetron's my official thing, right? It's me, so I could just write a letter to the board from Tetron, or also from myself. Then if you guys want to sign it, also you could, but it wouldn't have to be anything too crazy. Just ideas. Hey, like what you're doing with this, or drop some more merchandise. I can tell you, there's a lot of other people that would like it, so that could be interesting, right? So we'll have to see about that in the future. But let's see. What else do we have? How much is the 1 terabyte? So pretty much more worthwhile to get the 2 terabyte, but that's how most price scales work. In terms of the model is like, for example, at McDonald's, is you ever notice how a small fry, a medium fry, a large fry are all kind of close to each other, and extra large are almost kind of close to each other in price. So you just sometimes get the large or extra large because you're like, whatever, it's basically the same price. That's kind of the mentality with the scale up. It's like, why would I get 1 terabyte when I could just pay another $60 and get double the amount? Like, I might as well. So it's kind of like a marketing thing. And again, that's not that something special that GameStop's doing. That's just a general thing to kind of just conceptualize and understand. But I think I gotta pull up the numbers again. And I apologize, guys. I swear it was one of the busiest days at work today because it's right after a holiday. Also, I took off tomorrow, so I'm coming off a day where it's not a business day, but still a lot of people are off and just trying to do stuff. So a lot of messages and emails to return and voicemails, all that. So I'm just doing a bunch of stuff. And I've been doing a little bit more of my job now, so there's just so much like to try and get things done before tomorrow, but also at the same time with yesterday. So, and I swear it always gets that way right before GameStop earnings. But is that a bullish indicator? I don't know. I actually have a coworker, right? Or not coworker, but he works in the building, and we got introduced by like a mutual friend in the building, where I just got to know a bunch of people. Like there's different offices and stuff, where he told me, he's like, "Yo, I invested in GameStop," or the person who introduced us was like, "Oh, you guys are gonna like each other. Like you both invested in GameStop." We hit it off right away, and I was almost thinking, if one day this week we could do a quick little stream during our lunches, but I don't know how that would work or if he'd be down for that. Because probably have to do it like in the car and stuff. So I don't know if that would work. Let's see. Visited some local GameStops to drop off donuts on Labor Day. Both stores were doing merchandising on their PlayStation racks. Nice, Scott. That's good to hear. So they're just doing some stuff on the other days, and that's awesome of you to do, man. I mean, the small things really count. Busy is good though, yeah. That makes the day go by faster. Exactly, Calvin. Yeah, I was literally saying to people today, like, damn, I can't believe how fast today went. But the only thing is, in my downtime, I try and like write out what I'm gonna do in my stream or kind of plan what I'm gonna talk about more so I can have a little bit more flow. So that's kind of the only downside here. Whereas, I'll be honest with you guys, it's not as, I'm not trying to, I was going to say not as easy as it looks, but I don't think I'm making it look easy. But, ask anybody that tries to stream and stuff. It's a unique experience and just something you got to really, I feel like, keep doing to improve. I feel like I've improved a lot since I started. But when you have a plan and like a flow kind of pre-written, you kind of think about it prior to, it's a lot easier. Whereas when you come home and you're like doing a lot of stuff, like, yeah, I can hop right into it, but my flow is not as clean. But I'm still chilling, so we're going to keep going. And quick side note, which I had just like calculated right before this and just trying to put some numbers together. So GameStop has about $4.30 of cash per share, which is pretty incredible. Morantz has been talking about that a bit lately as well in terms of their just underlying equity value. That amount of cash per share, if you look at a lot of other companies out there, you simply don't see that. So looking at the fact that the price of sales is 1, meaning market cap almost equals revenue at this point in time. So that means the price of sales, price of the stock, but price in terms of market cap divided by sales, that would be revenue for the trailing 12 months. It's about 1, which is relatively low for retail names, especially one just stacked with cash like GameStop. So to me, that reads that the market just naturally doubts GameStop. Not naturally doubts, but it prices in doubt in terms of GameStop's future. Because if they thought the name would be around still, theoretically the market would probably value it a little bit higher if you compare it to some other names such as Best Buy or Walmart or Target, right? Theoretically. But it really is all about results. That's the number one thing. But you know what I realized I have to do? Because if I want to do math on the screen, I would have to change it to display. Because that's the thing too. I had a little delay before. I was trying to mess with OBS. You know, it's crazy. Like trying to do all this, like be like a creator. It's like what a juggling act it is. You know, of I'm trying to tweet all the time. You know, put out videos and all that, and then trying to improve. Oh, see, look at that. Only one left. But, oh, that's for I don't know what store that is, but or why that's the one in there. I'm not even signed in. So I guess there's some out there at the stores now as well. But let's just get to the numbers or some theories. So I'm going to switch this to display. Okay, there we go. So now I can do this, splitting off. Boom. Have to be unhappy in terms by Credit Suisse. No way. Who would be surprised? I mean, look at Credit Suisse's market cap relative to the assets by the time they were taken over. And it was a forced takeover. So obviously UBS isn't happy. I mean, can you really be surprised? But okay. So let's go here. So I guess first I'll go through this and then we can kind of like throw some numbers on the side. But yo, let me throw on the fan real quick. It is stupid hot down here. Hold on 1 second. All right. That's much better. Hopefully that's not creating like background noise of some kind. But let's go through like the thread I wrote today. Then we can kind of build on the numbers a little bit. And also, you know, in the previous couple streams, I feel like I've roughly made my estimates, but you know, this is kind of where it goes down to. So analysts are estimating 14 cents a share for earnings per share of GameStop. And then I had up the most previous quarter, so cumulative. If you look at the last quarter reported, it was negative 17 cents. So I do want to see improvement on that number. And then most importantly, I want to see improvement year over year compared to Q2-23, and also through the year before in there as well, just to get an idea of how it's been the past couple of years. And I think what we saw from Q2-21 to Q2-22 was the little bit of increase in spending in terms of executing on Web3 and some more hires and a lot of different things they were shifting with. And then because you have to keep in mind Q2-22 was when they're really just kind of starting the turnaround plan, so to speak. So I said, I expect negative EPS for the quarter, but improvement last year. Anything below 10 cents. So I've been kind of saying now a single digit. I just realized I could do this read mode here. So a single digit negative EPS to me would be pretty ideal. Obviously, I think better is always better, right? I'm not saying I want it to be negative, but just as in general ballpark expectation. So the net income analyst estimate is negative 42.6 million, which would still be an improvement year over year compared to the negative 108.7 million. And then last quarter was only negative 50.5. So again, cumulative improvement. And in case you didn't know, EPS times shares outstanding would just give you the net income. Or if you take the net income divided by EPS, that would give you, divided by shares outstanding, that would give you the EPS. So if my estimate, I said roughly, let's look at for a loss of negative 35 to 25 million. And, again, being cautiously optimistic here, I think that's pretty solid because it's an improvement. And, the median of that would be negative 30 cents. And that would be about a 9-cent loss per share, about 10 cents. So I don't think that would be too shabby, but I think mostly it comes down to SG&A. But there's also other factors. How much revenue do they have? Was it better than expected? Cost of sales, are they really zeroing in on those higher margin items, or is it still a little bit of rising costs in terms of cost of sales because of inflation still taking place? So it's all to be determined, of course. But let's see. Robinhood, I don't know about that. Do you have DRS account with computer share for any GameStop shares? Scott, I do. I do have my shares directly registered for the most part, and then I have some IRA shares as well on Fidelity. At which time will you go to live tomorrow? Freshmaker? That's a good question. I'm still trying to figure out because I'm off tomorrow. So like I'm trying to think of like a fun stream idea for the morning and then stream like into earnings, like into the after hours, starting at like 2, maybe something like that. So stay tuned because I'm going to tweet out what my plan is. I'm still kind of deciding, to be honest. I was like, maybe I should do something because I don't really have like a plan for the day. I just took the day off to kind of just relax and prepare for earnings and just do some Tetron stuff. So honestly, maybe I'll just do something goofy like a League of Legends game or like Tetron IRL, and I'll like make some food and just talk about GameStop in the kitchen because I'm not a great cook, so it might be kind of entertaining. I tend to make a mess and also get frustrated, so it might be entertaining for you guys for me to do that. So stay tuned. If I'm going to do that, I'll let you know. And I think it'd be more fun though if I had a friend to do it with. So I don't know. I wish my brother would be home. That'd be like a perfect duo, but he's got some stuff he's got to take care of tomorrow. So getting back into this, and then oh yeah, real quick, Jay, what's good? Thanks for being here. Appreciate you always tuning in. Much appreciated. Oh, Robinhood has a DRS feature now. Oh, 1337. Thank you for being here. I did not realize that. That's actually kind of crazy. And I think it also just shows the demand for it and the interest. And I've also tweeted in the past how Fidelity's made it super simple for individuals to directly register shares, where you could just do it through their customer service bot. It's like Fidelity My Help. You don't even have to actually message a person anymore. You say, I want to DRS my shares, which account, how many shares, do you understand will be removed? Yes, yes, yes. Boom. That's it. So it's pretty crazy Robinhood added too. I'll have to look into that more. I appreciate you pointing that out. But to keep going here, so based on the success of Zelda and other several game launches, I think it's possible we see slight improvement in revenue to around 1.16 to 1.19 billion. So I don't think that'd be too impossible. I got a little too ahead of myself here. So the analysts are estimating 1.14 for the same quarter last year. It was pretty much the same number, so they're expecting revenue to be just about flat. I'm expecting a slight improvement because I think Zelda did really well, and there's a lot of other games that came out, and then the Mario movie just seemed like a lot more attention than Q2 of 22. And I feel like throughout 2022 as a whole, there wasn't as much stuff that came out, across the board, whether it was movies, games, TV shows, just new things coming out because everything kind of paused in 2020 into 2021. So I feel like it really took time for things to kind of ramp up again, including game production. Everything was on delay in a weird way, and that's why we had some of the weird inflation we had in some aspects and supply chain issues, blah blah. But I think just overall there was a lot more that happened in Q2-23 versus Q2-22. And then this is my rough estimate for SG&A costs. So this is historical SG&A right here. If you look at it, I've listed every single quarter since 2019. I wrote this out a while back. Don't know why I didn't type it. I don't know why I don't type all the time. Sometimes I just write. I don't know. I just gotta kind of like get my mind busy. So I just start like writing out numbers. But really, I was actually just talking to my friend about using Python to like just utilize data and just construct it in a certain way, or just pull data and try and just see correlations. Or I don't know, as you can see, I still have a lot to learn about it, but I want to be able to see like what is GameStop's historical performance on the 10 days leading up to earnings and then 10 days after. Is there some correlation? And then be able to compare it for each of the last like 5 years, just stuff like that. That'd be fun to do on stream. So stay on the lookout for that. But I'm looking for 325 to 335 million, which I think would be nice because it'd definitely be an improvement year over year, and it would be a cumulative improvement from the most previous quarter, and it would be the lowest in a single quarter since 2019. And in terms of percentage of net sales, I'm looking for it to be 28 with that estimate. So, kind of about the same as Q1-23. So if it actually comes in a little bit lower percentage of net sales, then, that would theoretically mean my EPS estimate would raise then to like a little bit of a lower number or higher number closer to zero. And yeah, I got to pull up where I really got to organize. I always lose my spot where I'm like marking up the reports because there's too many folders on my freaking computer. This has been a primary area of focus for the company. Even though costs are being actively cut, some one-time costs associated with wind down operations or other similar items will still need to be deducted in the future. So I kind of touched on that a little bit before, but it is true. And with the focus on reducing overhead costs, headcount, winding down business operations in particular regions, it appears SG&A costs will continue to decline. So you can mainly see that here in the business priorities. If you want to take a moment to look at this, and it was mostly highlighted right here in the yellow. That's the main part to look at. Let's go. We got J and J here. Other J's here too. Just tuned in. Options changing implies 14.5% move for GME earnings. Thoughts on direction? Chewy beat revenue and EPS, but still crushed. Down 12% this week. Bird Bear, thanks for tuning in. So I think, we're probably going to see a lot of volatility one way or another. I think if it does surprise in terms of analyst estimates and just is better than expected slightly, I think we're going to see a move up. But what's to happen after that and the actual trading day going into the election report tomorrow, Wednesday, so going into Thursday, I don't know. I feel like it could easily fall down or just kind of not do much. So I feel like what we get with the report, like it'll actually match the price action. Like ironically enough, whereas it actually never seems to do that. I feel like that's my theory this time around. Just kind of the fact that it's declined a lot going in. We've had now a little bit of a bounce. It's kind of like trying to figure out where it wants to go. But then again, there's also a lot of powers that be, right, in terms of the market of what's actually going to pull in one direction or another. So I think it's more likely than not we'll see volatility. But I think it'll actually kind of correlate. Like if there's positive revenue, like if it's better than expected revenue and better than expected EPS, it'll do decent. But I think really for it to do like really well and just have an explosion, like up like 20 something percent plus, it would need to be profitable for the quarter because that would definitely come to a surprise, even to me. And I think a lot of people out there, and I think there's a lot of people optimistic, but kind of in the same boat as me where it's like cautiously optimistic and just trying to see it, get to that next level. But yeah, so I just quickly touched on here in terms of the segments. And in terms of so overall, they have to be profitable in every segment. That's really just the bottom line there. And then for their earnings release, I pulled up the picture again and confirmed, it doesn't mention the earnings call. All the other previous calls, Matt Furlong was the main speaker, and it would be listed, okay, we're going to do the earnings call around 5 p.m. Nothing ever really happened in the earnings call this time. I feel like they're saying straight up, just forget it. And then this is again what I was talking about before in terms of the GameStop 2 terabyte drive that came out. It's PS5 and PC compatible, but I would like to see them go more PC direction because I feel like that's the route I'm going to go as I'm building my PC. I'm going to do more PC gaming because I'll have everything kind of built in there. So I'd like to be able to buy my own parts from GameStop. So obviously that's a little bit selfish, but I think as a whole, that's a larger category than going just PS5 or Xbox. But I don't think this is like indication they're going towards PS5. So I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say there. But GME earnings going to be wild. No calls must be something in it worth reading. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, Scott, too. Or I think maybe you said that in a previous stream or someone commented somewhere where I saw someone was like, yeah, you only cancel the earnings call if you feel really good about what you're about to report in your report. But that's, of course, speculation, so we'll have to see. Meagle says, I think Ryan Cohen will make a big announcement tomorrow. Meagle, that would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like a while since really anything's happened. I mean, we had the Telos partnership quite a while back, and that fell through. And besides that, not many other things have happened. So, yeah, I think, I was saying a little bit earlier as well, where it's like, this is a point in time where Ryan Cohen's being questioned a lot. It's like, oh, is GameStop really going to be profitable this year? Anybody that's on the fence is thinking, is this really going down? Are they really going to turn a profit? Are they really taking it to that next level? And now's the time to execute, right? We're heading into late 2023, which is just crazy to think about how time flies, in and outside of GameStop, time just flies. So with that being said, it really does start to come down to results. And I understand, people want to see results, and I'm good. Like, I'm in it for the long term. And I think most people are at this point. But, it is time to really start executing. So I wouldn't say it's completely off the table that something big is announced. But also, I don't know, it'd be very uncharacteristic of them to just randomly launch something big out of nowhere. But also, that would be GameStop being GameStop in a way because it'd be surprised, like, oh, well, didn't see that coming. Let's see, acquisition, possibly, yeah. I think if they do an acquisition, though, my thought has been that it has to be a very small portion of their cash because they're trying to operate extremely frugal. It seems like they're really trying to manage the balance sheet. So I think if they're trying to acquire something, they don't want to spend more than like 10, 15% of cash max. And I don't think you want to do it in a debt structure type of deal just because we're in a high interest rate environment. So that really wouldn't work out good for them. So I feel like they really have to make an acquisition that's something that's going to vertically align with what they're trying to do as a whole or just taking their next steps as a company, but also a very modest amount of their cash so they can still keep a very strong balance sheet and go through with the transaction. So, there's lots of names that have been thrown out there. Like people say, like Funko, obviously, like uh, whatever BBYQ, but that's not happening. That's not a real acquisition. They're literally already bankrupt and about to go off the stock exchange, like I think this week. But that's a whole story in itself. So I feel like more so a partnership, like maybe a collab would be a cool thing. Like I've always kind of started to think if they really are going to get into Web3 gaming, if they could collaborate with the creator. And I've seen Dr. Disrespect tweet out about like Web3 and gaming being like misunderstood, but like there's a valid reason for it. But like in his like Miss Dr. Disrespect kind of way, where he's like, if you don't think digital assets in games are here to stay, then you're wrong, or something like that. He had a funny tweet like that, and I was like, oh. And he had a couple things come out about uh, like interest in it, or he tweeted a couple things like kind of indicating towards it. So if they somehow partner with him, and he has a lot of his own platform, a lot of different stuff, I'd have to look into him more into his specifics. I think he has his own game now or game studio, and I don't know his exact setup, but if GameStop can start to kind of partner with people like that and have some kind of promotions, that's a huge potential crossover of audiences or a huge driver. If a big name person is like sponsored by GameStop or not sponsored but affiliated with GameStop in some shape or form, I think that's a huge thing because really now we live in a world, right, where if you're going to market as a company, like for example, if I'm selling handbags, I want to market my handbags to people that like the bag I'm making, right? So I want to go to someone on Instagram with a bunch of followers and that tends to post about things related to, I don't know, just stuff of that nature or just different bags, makeups, just fashion, for example, right? To keep it very general. If I want to market that bag I've created, I want to go to an influencer or individual who has a voice in that category. So I think if GameStop goes that kind of route where you have creators and streamers that game that really have a strong connection with their audience and consistently watch, that's a huge thing for expanding the customer base and just kind of worlds coming together because you already have so many people that like GameStop that might then go to that creator and watch their content more. And then also those creators' followers may be more involved in shopping GameStop, and then all of a sudden they're caught up in GameStop Twitter, and then they learn more about the stock and this and that. So I just feel like partnerships with individual creators could be something big for them. And maybe the way I'm describing it isn't the best way to go about it. And there's a better plan, and that's fine. I'm just speaking completely off the dome here. But I think there's potential for partnerships, with guys such. I don't know why Dr. Disrespect's the example I always think of. I guess it's because he was referencing Web3 a couple times where I'm like, damn, imagine he was like a huge part of what GameStop's doing, and then they also like, hey, yeah, we have this guy, this guy, this gal, this person, right? That'd be pretty crazy. So let's see. What's up, Tetron? Maybe Cohen was signaling a beat with that tweet about consumers investing in physical games. It could be, Fitzy. It could be, right? You never truly know with Ryan Cohen's tweets. I feel like they're always spicy, but it has been over a month, and yeah, I mean, I always wonder, oh, do they mean something? Do they mean nothing? For me, you know me, man. I just kind of watch the long term and just ride the waves. But it's It's always fun to watch and speculate, right? Or at least be like, what could this mean possibly? SLGG market cap is 8 million. Okay, let's see that. Wasn't that rumored to be an acquisition a long time back of GameStop, and then it actually had it like spike up in price and then it completely fell? Oh wow, yeah. So this is completely fallen from where I remember it. Because I believe, yes, I remember right here there was a rumor that GameStop was going to acquire Super League Gaming. Yo, good call out, Bird Bear, because this is kind of what I was saying previously, another stream. I don't think I was saying it before, where in a market crash scenario or just a world where valuations are falling because generally the market as a whole isn't strong, that could possibly open the door for GameStop to make an acquisition at a very discounted level. And when this market cap is only 8 million, I mean, obviously we have to see what else is going on here. 2.5 million cash. If they have no debt, I mean, damn, that's pretty remarkable, because you also have to think in terms of GameStop risk to reward. Just looking at across the board here in general numbers, 23% insider ownership. That's pretty interesting. Forgot exactly what they do. That would be pretty awesome to see. Super League Gaming builds and operates networks of games, monetization tools, and content channels across metaverse gaming platforms that empower developers, energize players, and entertain fans. The company's solutions provide access to audience consisting of players in the metaverse environments, fans of various gaming influencers, and viewers of the gameplay content across social media and digital video platforms. The company's platform includes access to in-game communities, a metaverse advertising platform, and a network of highly viewed channels and original shows on Instagram, TikTok, Snap, YouTube, and Twitch, as well as cloud-based live stream production tools and an esports invitational tournament series. Its properties also deliver opportunities for brands and advertisers to achieve insights and marketing outcomes with gamers of various ages. The company was formerly known as NTH Games Incorporated and changed the name to Super League Gaming Incorporated in June 2015. The company was incorporated in 2014 and headquartered in Santa Monica, California. I mean, everything I just read right there sounds in line with what they're trying to do, and then also some of the things I was just saying. So that could be really exciting. Let's see their website real quick. And with that kind of valuation, let's say GameStop comes in, buys it out for 20 million. That's nothing to them. This is our world, and we're excited to take you there. Let's see. Marketing solutions. In-game advertising. Interesting. Influencers create original media to help grow your player base through advertising. Our intimate knowledge of the games we partner with allows us to produce engaging and informative content. Join us, stay ahead of the game, and expand your community. Interesting. Should I sign up to work with them? Let's see what it says, just out of curiosity. Wow, just a simple thing. When putting together a truly impactful campaign that involves gamers, creators, and hardcore fans, there are a lot of choices to make. Members of our team have been guiding those choices for over a decade. If you envision your brand in the metaverse, then let us take you there. Interesting. Definitely interesting for sure. Maybe Tetron will be in the metaverse one day, right? I don't know in what shape or form, but let's see. I believe that GameStop is preparing for an economic/financial Armageddon that is our way, so I believe the merger will not be on the table, at least not this quarter. That's a fair point, Ante. I mean, if it really is, because not to be a naysayer, but the economy, I'm one to believe it has to get worse before it gets better. And the truth is, I think interest rates are going to continue to rise and things are bad. Like, I think things are just not good. Like, I'm not saying it's, completely all doom and gloom. It's the end of the world, but I think, it's I think very carefully before I'm going to put money into anything else right now. Like, I've acquired a little bit of Bitcoin over the past couple months, just a little bit, just because the Bitcoin halving is coming and that's something I'm interested in. But please do a lot more research on Bitcoin if you're interested in it. And I don't speak on Bitcoin often because I don't feel as informed as I do about GameStop. And, I'm interested in some other things and I do read about other investments. But some may wonder, like, oh, why does this guy only talk about GameStop? Or some people ask me, like, why do you, surround your channel about GameStop? I'm like, that's what I know best. It's the stock I'm following the most and have the most detail on. So before I talk about anything else, like, I want to master something and then go from there. So, while I'm reading about other things and interested in other things, GameStop's really the only thing, like, I feel the best about putting my money in. And I think that's also because I have the most knowledge on it and I read about it the most. And it's just taught me as like an individual what it means to do due diligence and really grind. And also, like something I just want to point out about having this website here is it's nice to see they're still posting articles because sometimes you see like a company like this where it's like, okay, how active are they? And the last article is from like late 2021 and they just cut off blogs at some point. So seeing them still do stuff, I think that's a positive sign. Veal Studio case studies. That's interesting. Huh. Timberland Pro build competition. Let's see. Hey Tetron. Hey everyone. White Rabbit 741. Thanks for popping in. Much appreciated. Ica, thanks for being here. I think earnings will show reduction in expenses, so I'm hyped about that. They're probably going to fuck with DRS numbers, but GME long-term value is insane, so not that worried about it. Exactly, honestly, exactly. With DRS, I've come to realize, I think, it's where I want my shares for the most part. I still have shares in IRAs, and then I got a couple that are not, but I have a lot of shares that aren't directly registered in my name. And to me, I think anything's possible, and I truly want to own my assets. So that's my personal choice. But I really think, everyone has to make their own individual decision. I really want to stick to that core concept where everyone should always be an individual. It's a collective group of people that may like GameStop, but it's individual investment decisions, like individual investors that are involved with it. So I think everybody has to do what's best for them in terms of that. And then, always do your own research before you're going to move your share somewhere. But to me, it's such a unique thing. And I do think the number's going to be slightly dismantled because I know Mainstar undirectly registered shares, undirectly registered a lot of shares for a lot of IRA clients. So that could be fudging the numbers a little bit. Yeah, it's such a mysterious thing. And then that one time it was just reported differently. So what was up with that? And all of it, I think, like there's some shady things that go on and some like things I scratch my head about for sure and I speculate on. But I just always try and stick to the core concept. As long as the company drives forwards, all of this will come out. It'll all bubble to the surface if the company's just driving and succeeding. But let's go. Everyone's getting hyped, laughing my ass off. At undergrad, my student loans were at 3.6%. Now in grad school, it's 7%. Damn, yeah, no, it's crazy with these rising interest rates. I had private debt I paid off, and it was a ridiculous interest rate. And now my remaining, like just one tiny student loan is about to start up again in October. So I'll just pay that off, consistently throughout, but it's very, very limited. So I'm not too worried about it. I pretty much take care of everything else, so I'm in great shape there, thankfully. But yeah, it's tough with the interest rates. So and some people are really going to start to feel it. I know that have a lot more student debt. It's going to be definitely hitting people's pockets. And then, yeah, again, not to be a naysayer or doom and gloom, but I think now's the time. What I've been telling everyone, like accumulate like a variety of assets, but like know what you're accumulating and just understand what's happening with the dollar. And I'm not saying like, yeah, put your money in this or that particularly, but just understand what is happening with the dollar. And it's something that really can't be undone. And how I envision it, I don't think it's like the end of the dollar. I see it as a world where just people start to just understand that inflation is just a part of life, right? You just expect things to cost more the next year. Like, it just becomes a commonality type of deal. And everyone's saying, what's good? Main Star Bingo, you know your shit. Yeah, no, I peeped it today. Shout out Platinum Sparkles. She threw it on response to my Twitter thread today. And I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Which, by the way, if you guys didn't know, it is possible to directly register your shares in a different type of way, like with an IRA LLC. So you can theoretically do this, right, with any like retirement account, but it needs to be a self-directed IRA. And here's the deal: like, I actually am pretty knowledgeable on this from doing some research. So let's do a paint. Here we go. Let's get messy. That sounds weird. So, okay, if I have my GameStop shares, right, this is how you would do an IRA LLC. So let's say it's basically like what an IRA is. So, okay, let's say they're in my Fidelity IRA. So here's how you do it. You theoretically can do this, right, with any self-directed IRA custodian. Thanks, Fitzy. Yeah, but yeah, so we're getting messy. Here we go. So you can theoretically do this, right, with any IRA custodian. And I have touchscreen, so it might make the screen shake, but whatever. So what you would do is you would open an account. Where did my mouse go? Okay. You would open an account with the self-directed IRA if you looked them up. So self-directed IRA. And then basically you establish like in your IRA, like how it's named. Like for example, in the case of Mainstar, we'll just use them like for sake of example. It was Mainstar FBO, like roughly. It would be like Tetron 17. So it would be like the custodian name. I don't know why my mouse just disappeared. Oh, there it is. It'd be the custodian name for the benefit of Tetron, like me, and then my account number with them. So even though it would be directly registered, this would be the name on the ComputerShare account. It would be still on ComputerShare as like a Mainstar account. Like it'd be Mainstar FBO, your name and your account number, right? Roughly. Or maybe it would just be like Mainstar FBO traditional IRA, something like that. So what you would do is you would transfer your shares in to Mainstar's IRA, and then you would directly register with them, right? Because they were allowing it. But they disallowed it. So what they did was they sent all the shares back. If this was DRS, they sent all the shares back, right? So now people have them in their Mainstar IRA. But what you could do is you create a shell company for your IRA, and you're allowed to do this. Like you have to make sure you look into it. And the big thing with this is self-directed IRA custodians charge quarterly fees, and also the LLC, you have to particularly establish it with particular language that allows you to actually like have it in your account, to legally do it with the IRS. But this is possible. So basically, like let's say I wanted to create it, right? Like I am the best LLC. Like that's my LLC I decided to create, right? For whatever reason, that's the name of my entity. So in a normal LLC, right? Like I would make it and then I would be the member, I would be the 100% owner. But instead, what happens is, use some different colors. The member of the LLC, right? Let's get tinier. The member becomes Mainstar FBO Tetron 17. So if this was my name and account number, right? Or you could say like FBO Tetron IRA, right? So basically what happens then is I've established now an LLC, but instead of me as an individual being the member of the entity, my IRA account with Mainstar would be the actual member, and then I'm acting as the manager, would be as the manager of the entity who is non-compensated. Meaning, like you might be thinking, like, how can you legally do this? How can you set up like an LLC for your IRA? Like that's got to be a problem, right? But there's all kinds of rules. Anytime you move something into the LLC, it has to be from the Mainstar IRA. And then if you want to take a distribution in the future, you would have to send it back to the Mainstar IRA, then distribute your shares or the cash. So basically, you've created like your IRA account and then a layer to it. And the issue with this is an LLC costs a lot if you don't know how to put the proper fine print. And then also, you have to make sure you're not at any point in time just taking $20 out of your pocket and putting it into the LLC. Because remember, with an IRA, there's contribution limits. So you have to go through the Mainstar IRA before you would be able to go to the IRA LLC. And then also, Mainstar is just one example. So there's a lot of other self-directed IRA custodians out there, but with some of them, they are actually non-ACAT custodians. So you know how the DTCC is the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, and then an entity of it, or it's the DTC, and then an entity of it is the NSCC, National Securities Clearing Corporation, and they enable something called the ACAT system. Let's make that blue. Well, okay, we're not. So this is the ACAT system is by the NSCC, which is an entity of the DTC. So basically the ACAT system allows you to move shares back and forth, back and forth. It's just changing the custodian name. But when you have a non-ACAT custodian, that means they're not within the DTC. So if you used a non-ACAT self-directed IRA, then you would transfer it. The problem is, though, how do you transfer your shares from your Fidelity IRA? You can't. You would have to buy new shares. You would have to transfer cash to the IRA, open the LLC, transfer funds into an LLC bank account, and then purchase shares in the name of that entity for the IRA. So as you can see, there's a lot of steps associated with that, and that was probably very confusing in a way. So it's still possible to directly register shares within an IRA, but it's just extremely difficult. Mainstar was the easiest one to do it, but there's another one. There's like other names out there, so you can use those to potentially do it. But the big thing is you pretty much have to buy new shares unless you're using an ACAT custodian. That's really the big thing. But yeah, I don't know if that made sense. Definitely let me know if you guys have any thoughts on that. But yeah, also my side thing died, so I'm trying to pull up my stream real quick on my phone so I can be checking the chat as I go. But oh damn, yeah, this is way behind. I was gonna say, oh, we got the ad on the side. Okay, but yeah, so self-directed IRA is a possible thing, you know, but it's a challenge. And if you are interested in doing this, please do a lot of research on it. It's a very complex thing. There's a lot of costs associated with actually setting it up because what these custodians are doing, it's not just like Fidelity where they don't charge you any fees. Self-directed IRAs have either quarterly or annual semi-fees. Basically, they charge you just to have an account with them because they're facilitating, you know, a unique type of transaction. They're allowing you to have alternative assets in an IRA. Like the other ones, the other asset, you might think, well, why? What's the point of this type of IRA anyway? People mostly aren't using it for this, but people are actually using it for like alternative assets such as gold, you know, precious metals. Some of them allow you to do Bitcoin. There's one called like Bitcoin IRA or digital trust, something like that, where you can acquire Bitcoin directly with an IRA account. So that's an alternative asset. Another alternative asset is if you want to invest in some kind of private equity. You could do that through a self-directed IRA. Sometimes people invest in a friend that has a business through the equity of their IRA funds. So it's a unique type of thing. You know, it's not that known. And this is how you would do it with GameStop. But that's kind of a random thing. But if you guys want more information on that, let me know. Like I can like I'm pretty well knowledgeable on the self-directed IRA space. But yeah, I definitely got to check out this Creator League thing more, and I want to check into Super League more. This is very interesting, especially seeing, you know, how low the market cap has come as potential for like an acquisition. But let's see, where in my, hopefully I don't have too much here. So yeah, see guys, I gotta organize. Oh, where's Tetron? Boom. Let's see. As you guys can see, things have come a long way over time. And also, a lot of files just get dumped in here sometimes. But this is a classic picture. This man's about to throw those Mario blue shells. That's something I want to do one time. I got to do like a Mario Kart type of night. That would be pretty epic. But once I get my PC, guys, really, I swear things are gonna be taken to the next level for real. But let's see, Q. Oh, I think this is where I was marking it up. Oh, I'm trying to find. Let's see. Do you play options, Tetron? Not as much anymore, Fitzy. Very rarely will I mess with options now. To be honest, I used to play with them a lot, and that was the very start of my GameStop story. So I'll actually tell listen. I feel like this is a good time for story time. So actually, what was I gonna pull up there so I don't forget? Okay, so I actually want to quickly tell a story about options, and there's money to be made in options, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. All right, I'm just going mid-screen here, but so here's my story about options because you know if you hear about people making a lot of money, and you hear about people like losing a lot of money, right? So here's my deal with it. I think there's money to be made, and everybody's got to know themselves as an individual. And for me, I previously was trading options a lot. Like I started trading options at like 16 or 17 years old. Like I was in high school. I remember looking at numbers and people would be like, "What are you doing on your laptop?" Like, "Oh, I'm trading options." Like, what does that even mean? But like, I didn't even know what it meant, right? It's like I didn't know what I was doing. And thankfully, I never had a lot of money to lose. So, it was like just my extra money. And also, I'm in high school at that time. So as I get into college, I'm still messing with like I've kind of go on and off with options through the years. I'm always interested in investing though, owning various stocks, never truly holding something though for a long period of time, but constantly reading about the market and just going through everything. Just trying to learn whatever I can, do whatever I can, right? So I do options. I do forex, I try crypto trading. I even played the crypto run up in 2017. I was 17 at that time, and I remember kids like, "What the hell is a Bitcoin?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's gonna be crazy. Trust me." So I try everything out there, right? Every possible thing you've seen, which I think all the things out there, like any form of trading or forex. Like I think if you really, really know what you're doing, it's possible to make money. I'm not saying it's not, but my point is like I always tried to like half-ass things, or I didn't really actually invest my time in fully going all in on learning like a certain trading strategy or this or that. So I was always just kind of on and off, trying every possible strategy. I tried four-leg option strategies at one point, and I did gain a lot of knowledge over time. Don't get me wrong, but then with options going into 2021, when I was home during the pandemic, that got me back into it again. I was trading a bunch of options leading all the way up till GameStop. And the week before GameStop went crazy, I was trading Palantir and I made a ton of money on options. And I was just completely gooning, right? I make a ton of money on Palantir. And then my friend's like, dude, GME is the next thing. And I'm like, really? It's already been like, price action's been crazy with it. What's going on? I started reading about it a little bit and I'm like, you know what? I can buy an option on this. And this is like the week it goes nuts. And in that week, so like leading up to the Palantir 2, I was not doing well. So the Palantir was like a big win. I was finally made back like a lot of losses from like screwing around. And when I had that big win, I just threw it at the farthest date GameStop call at the very the very first week of expiry. So that week it went nuts, like January 29th expiry or January 30th expiry. And it was like the start of the week. And it was what the day when GameStop had kind of went like the weekend went crazy. I don't know if you remember. It kind of went like exploded in the morning, completely fell down, and then went sideways for a lot of the days. So my thought was like, okay, implied volatility has fallen off. So options from this morning, especially anyone who bought it on the way up, got absolutely crushed. So the price come down. So if it could get just another leg up later this week, I could just quickly cash out this option, right? And some big money, and I'm on the move, right? Making money moves out here. Like that was my thought process at the time. So I buy it, not realizing I have no day trades left. It starts rallying towards the end of the day, and I'm like, holy crap. It's really rallying, and I want to literally sell it. It's worth 8 times the value. It's literally worth 8 times the value. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even sell it because I don't even have any day trades. I'm like, this is crazy. And I text my friend, I'm like, yo, this is nuts, bro. And I took him, or I ordered some really good food after this because it put me on. But basically, after hours was when Elon Musk tweeted about it, and it legitimately changed my life. It legitimately changed my life. That number I saw on the screen the next day when Robinhood opened. I legit like. I think it was 1,000x. No, I don't know. It was no, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know the math exactly, but I made a lot of options, a lot of money on that. Like I literally paid off a student loan, and then I was back in it with like the next quick options, and like it was the time period where everything was going crazy. So like any option you bought could go like way up or way down, and in doing that, I started to go through so much stress, and then there's a couple other times like I made a few thousand, I lost a few thousand, like huge numbers, and like you have to understand, like I don't come from any like that's not anything small to me. Like that is like massive. To be starting to move numbers like that really just started to stress me out. And also, I got a little greedy with trying to catch like late 2022 options. So like when I really started with this channel, I think was like really towards the end of me being involved in GameStop options for the long term, trying to catch like the big run up because I just started to see like unless I'm just really trading it is not the play, and just options starting to stress me out, and it's just up and down, and I still made out well from the whole situation, but I didn't. I could have just cashed out that one massive amount and been done. But I just started to go through so much stress and I didn't really truly have a strategy. So for that reason, because I've been through a lot, and you might think this is crazy because like I'm literally only 23, and I'm like, damn, okay, like I have a lot of time left, right? So I decided to take a step back and just focus on the idea of investing. And then if I am going to be involved in options anyway, like I might just want to take a particular trade. Like my recent thought process is, okay, GameStop's so low that I could sell a put that's ridiculously out of the money, like $10 put, and that would only take $1,000 of cash, and it wouldn't be a great premium return. But I really don't even see a scenario where GameStop goes below 10. So I think it's a pretty safe bet. And then when you sell a put right now, on your underlying cash, you earn interest in a money market account if you do it through Fidelity or a lot of the other brokers. So long story short, I've had a lot of ups and downs with options and just crazy emotional rides with it. So I feel like I needed to step back and just really focus on investing. And I feel like that's for me. But I think there's still, moments to trade for me particularly. And then trading is still, a game if you can really be disciplined and just know thyself, there's definitely money to be made. And I feel like if I explore it again in the future, I have so much more knowledge. And I feel like also for me, there's a lot of maturing that I had to do. So with having to mature, that was kind of like all stuff I went through. But I don't know. I hope that was an interesting story and not just a complete ramble. But yeah, I've been through options where it took me like to hell and back at times, I guess. So, but thanks, Fitzy. Yeah, I always thought like I've told the story like a couple times, just like here and there. I think I told it to Marantz once, one other time, because it's kind of a tough story to tell because also it's like my story's still evolving, and also I don't remember exactly what's happening when. And it's like yeah, I could go back and put it together, but also I really realized like I'm really really blessed to go through what I went through in terms of volatility at a young age, where if I feel like if I just started my investment journey now, all that might have hit in my late like 20s, and just but also I maybe would have been more mature. Like who knows, right? But I'm just saying I feel like I'm really blessed to have gone through all that. Like I feel like there's not a lot of people my age that have that kind of experience. And it doesn't mean I'm like experienced like, oh, this guy knows he's been in this for years and doing this and that. It's like I've been through some bullshit. So or done some dumb shit because I was young and stupid. And it really just took me to where I am now. And then also just zeroing in on GameStop, it really just changed my perspective so much, like on what investing is. And like if you're going to acquire an asset, if you're not looking at it as a trade, it's an investment. Like a trade and an investment to me are like two completely different things. And I think if I do get involved in trades in the future, it's more like a longer term trade or based on something in particular I see, like identify like a specific opportunity, not like, oh, this is exactly like the moment. Yeah, you know what? But that's just me, because it's also all about knowing thyself. That's really what it's all about. That's shortest way to say it. But Yeah, dope story. Thank you, Fitzy. Much appreciated. I don't know if GameStop needs to support esports. You really can't make money from it. Usually, the game developer pays for the event and the teams, whereas GameStop's supposed to make money. That's a great point, Freshmaker. It's always number one thing to look at. Like, how is it going to make the money? I think more so the route of like partnering might be the way, where in turn, like if they're supporting esports, I think it would have to be some kind of partnership or yeah, if it's like a tournament, maybe there has to be a giveaway, but it has to be sponsored by somebody. I don't know. Yeah, there definitely would be logistics to sort out there. But to quickly look at the cash flow, then I'm going to start to wrap it up soon because I really do want to plan for tomorrow. And I got you guys tomorrow's stream. I'm going to have clear structure for going through some numbers before the earnings, like in the afternoon. Just get some finalized predictions, although I think I've thrown my ideas out there in terms of numbers at this point. But just look at the cash flow. It's 50.5 million loss. That's from operations. And then if you move further down, operating activities, you take into account, prepaid expenses as well as inventory. So always look at the fine print. Obviously the net income is a lot of what people are looking at, but don't forget to look at the cash flow statement because the net cash flow and operating activities may differ from the actual result of the net income of the operations. So, there's also these other changes that are taking place in the balance sheet that are reflected here. And then also something that I've been kind of keeping in mind, I think there could be more marketable securities, but possibly not because cash equivalents, when it says cash equivalents by definition are anything with a maturity date of less than 3 months. So if GameStop is repeatedly buying 1 month T-bills or having it in a money market account, that's a cash equivalent that's paying them interest. And that's where you're seeing this right here, this interest income take place. So it's a negative because it's money they're gaining. They're not paying interest because they have such limited debt. So anything they're accumulating on that would show up here, whereas marketable securities, they actually pay out at maturity. So if it's a marketable security and it's under current assets, which it is right here, right here, marketable securities. So yeah, just what I was about to say, actually, more marketable securities this quarter. Since it's under current assets right here, it's less than 1 year until it matures. And with T-bills, anything under 1 year is going to only pay out at maturity date. So that's where you would see the cash flow statement, the proceeds from maturities and sales of marketable securities. So if they mature. So if they purchase more marketable securities in the quarter or as of the end of the quarter than those that have matured, that would negatively impact the free cash flow on the bottom line because it would make this number like more negative. But if you looked at the actual balance sheet, it would really just be cash shifting from cash equivalents to marketable securities, but it would still be something that's worth cash because marketable securities is a general concept, right? But you can look and see that the marketable securities are actually highlighted. Let's see. We generally invest our excess cash in highly rated money market funds and investment grade short-term fixed income securities, which consist of U.S. government and agency securities. Such investments with original maturities in excess of 90 days and less than 1 year are classified as marketable securities on our condensed consolidated balance sheet. And there's another spot where they specifically highlight that it's T-bills. It's not any kind of just randomness. It's U.S. government securities. So it's not like they're just, oh yeah, some short-term investments of some kind. No, it's some other companies have it on the balance sheet as like short-term investments, but it's the same deal where it's it's U.S. government securities. So it's really about the fine print. So keep an eye on that because that could negatively affect the free cash flow. Then it would bring the media headlines like, oh, GameStop has beats on EPS but shows major negative free cash flow, extremely concerning. But then maybe a bunch of it had just gone into marketable securities, right? So it's always important to read the fine print. I think with any stock or any media reporting these days, like that's stuff you got to really look at. But that's just one thing to keep in mind. I think repayments of debt will be around the same number. They're just going to pay it off minimally because when you have debt accumulating interest at a 1% rate and your cash is accumulating interest at a 5+% rate, why would you rush to pay off your debt when your cash is literally paying more? So their balance sheet really to me is in good order, and I think it'll continue to be. And I wonder about inventories, as they're trying to expand the product catalog, get involved with more things, you would kind of think, well, maybe inventory increases, but it always is going to depend quarter to quarter, right? So do keep that in mind. But I'm just saying in general, in the long term, but also, downsizing a little bit, I think calls for less inventory. And then also with strong retail technology and just examining the business as a whole, that's also a spot where you're cutting costs in terms of not knowing which regions need more of a product, which regions like this or that is not really selling, so it's not even worth setting much product out there for a particular category or brand or whatever it may be, right? That's when you have the analytics, you can start to make these decisions, and then you need some time for these analytics to collect through actual sales and business operations taking place. And prior to Ryan Cohen's involvement, a lot of this wasn't in place in GameStop at extremely old infrastructure. So with all that, how can that affect the inventories? We'll have to see, because I feel like they're going to, operate nimbly. That's something I kind of mentioned. But at the same time, you got to maintain strong inventory, especially going into holidays. So, I mean, that's complete tangent, just random thoughts there. But then anything else we want to highlight here? So SG&A, I think that's a huge, huge thing for this quarter that people will be looking at. And then cost of sales, we'll have to see how that comes in. So this is for Q1-23. Keep that in mind. And then in terms of the long-term debt, if you're ever wondering, well, how much are they going to pay over the course of the year? So 26.3 billion was how much they had left outstanding. The current portion means how much they're going to pay, because again, current by definition means less than 1 year. So that would mean how much of the debt is going to be repaid within the next 12 months. So this is it right here. And if you want to see for the particular quarter how much was repaid, you would see cash flow statement, the debt repayment here. See, 2.7, that correlates with about being 1/4 of the number that was up there, so it makes sense. And yeah, just, it's always important to look at the fine print. And, something I'm trying to do for myself and just to improve the channel is I want to take like a gap accounting course, or just official, like, or I don't know, just watch like a really long form video and take notes on it and further understand. Because, I could speak about all this generally, but I want to be able to make like really specific points. And then the next thing I have to work on also is trying to like type out more of what I'm saying, because I feel like sometimes I do too much talking and I'm not like presenting enough, if that makes sense. I don't know. But hi, friends. Anthony, thanks for popping in. Ryan, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Cheers. Hype for earnings indeed. Is there a possibility they show a profit this time? 1337? Yeah, I think it's possible, but I would say it's more likely not. But it's really going to take a strong quarter of revenue. I think much better revenue than expected for that to happen. And then that would possibly lead to an EPS beat. And also, I think we'd have to see better than expected SG&A costs. Subtetron, I exported the earnings data to Excel. Can I share it to your email? Yes, sir. Good luck, Windfall. Thanks for doing that. Much appreciated. That's my boy. Shout out to him. You guys can check him out. I think he's got a couple things out there. He's doing a little bit of analysis way back, but we're trying to work together. He was the one that's going to help me with Python, so shout out to him. Cheers, everyone. How much money do they earn from their bonds every quarter? So Freshmaker, it'll be determined, based on what they actually hold each time. So with the marketable securities, they pay at maturity, so we're not going to see the exact amount. We're just going to see it on the cash flow statement here. Right? I think you probably typed this before. I talked about this, come to think of it now. But we'd see that here. And then the interest income is right here, from what I understand. Because it's the interest, if it's an income, it's in parentheses because it's negative and you're adding it to the actual bottom line. Then expense wouldn't be negative because you would be subtracting it because it's an expense. But so Ryan isn't having a voice call tomorrow. September, thanks for popping in. But nope, it would appear not. So apparently it seems like there isn't. Like, it's not definitive, but in here, where did I have it? If you look at the announcement, usually right after this, it will say the company will have its earnings call Q2, sorry, not Q2. The company will have its earnings call at approximately 5 p.m. To discuss whatever. and this time it's not there. So that makes me think probably not. Also, considering Matt Furlong was usually the one speaking at the earnings calls, it's probably not the case this time. But I mean, it's not impossible. I wouldn't, because that's kind of the nature of GameStop. Like, always hit us with a surprise, right? So some people were saying before, maybe something comes out of it. Maybe there's acquisition of some kind, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. So I think that's all I got for today. I really want to kind of get myself together for tomorrow. And again, I apologize. I didn't have too much like prepared for today because I was just busy at work and Labor Day weekend, a lot of different stuff happening. And I woke up early to try and write out that whole thread this morning. So hope that had some good info. I'm trying to improve my writing skills because I'm trying to get more involved on X. They're saying it's the everything platform. So we'll see what happens with it. I'm just going to mess with it a bit. But thank you guys so much for watching. I think we'll wrap it up here. Thanks, man. Great stream. Calvin, thanks for being here. Like, just improving day by day, man. That's how we got to do it out here. So, power down, do some laundry, just some life things, right? So, appreciate the time. The Podge, thanks for being here. Thank you, Tetron. Fresh Maker, thank you, man. You're a real one. You're always here. Much, much appreciated. But yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow. Then I'm going to stream like at a desk in a pretty good setup. And I think, maybe I'm going to do the cooking stream tomorrow. But that would mean go to the grocery store and I don't know, I'm going to like eat it on camera, like, like freaking dog some tacos or something. And also, I'm not a great cook. So it could be funny, though. It could wind up with some good clips coming out of it where like I'm just absolutely gooning. And then I could just be like, Tetron talks GameStop while playing or while eating, right? Or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe a game of League because I'll have the time during the day. Fuck it, maybe all three. Yeah, but I'll definitely be talking GameStop, as it gets closer to the earnings. But I think I'll maybe just kind of do some fun stuff in the morning. But at the same time, not everybody's off, just me. So, but you guys could always just tune in if you can. So, but yeah, big day tomorrow. Challenger, thanks for popping in. Hope you're doing well, man. But yeah, this is the next chapter of GameStop. That's for sure. And it's not the last. I think that's also for sure. But it's just a journey, right? It's all about the journey. So have a good night, everyone.